following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break.
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, November 18th, 2019, season 45, episode number 84. Welcome to another edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, coming off a Cowboys win. Cowboys beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. They moved to a record of 6-4 in the lead in the NFC East. And we're going to break down for you guys what happened in that game yesterday. There were lots of moments in that game, lots of ebbs and flows, and obviously a lot of storylines that come out of that game. And to me, there's really no bigger storyline than Dak Prescott. So I'll start right there with you for you guys. He was 29 of 46, 63% completion percentage. He had 444 yards of passing, 3 touchdowns, 116.6 quarterback rating. Man, it's pretty freaking good. Nick, after the game, though, you made the comment there on the sideline. Did Dak miss a couple throws?
No.
You didn't?
That's not really what I was trying to say.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about it because I actually agree with you. There were a couple throws he missed, but I didn't think they were necessarily a big deal. But let's talk about it.
I wasn't trying to. I was only trying to see if this was the best game he's ever played.
Got it.
And so I was like, am I missing something here? Did he, 17 incompletions, but they threw a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, but, I mean, I know that they went and they beat the Lions, but I'm just saying he's doing things that he's kind of the guy and I even wrote, maybe he's the straw that's stirring this drink. So now, because he's starting to do things, even though they're trying to take away his weapons, and he had a great game yesterday. I thought he played phenomenal.
He made it rain on them bros,
Not everyone gets that because not everyone knows his name.
It's true. His name's Rain Dakota Prescott. I would hope you know that if you're a Cowboys fan listening to this show in 2019.
Yeah.
Man, he was really impressive. And it's funny. I always say it, like, it's dumb until they come to that conclusion, and then it's smart. Like last week, it was like, well, you want to stay balanced. We did make some adjustments. We threw the ball 46 times in the game, but you still want to try to run and establish the run. And then after the game yesterday, it was like, well, why would you go away from something that's working? Of course we're going to throw the ball. Like, that's what we're going to do. And why wouldn't you? I wish they had come to that conclusion the week before, but everything was working for Dak. Yeah, Tavon Austin bailed him out. He had a ball inexplicably go through Darius Slay's hands, but them's the breaks. He is playing out of his mind. If the Cowboys had beaten the Jets, I think he'd be right up there with Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson in terms of MVP conversation. Like, it was a nationally televised flop of a game. And rightful. I mean, they're 6-4. I'm not. And again, people love to jump to conclusions. I'm not saying he should win the MVP because I think Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson have both outplayed him to this point. He would be much more a part of the conversation if the Cowboys' resume was just a little bit better and highlighted by this game right here. I know the Lions aren't super impressive defensively, but that's impressive no matter who you're playing.
But you know what's really exciting to me is in the past when we talked about Dak Prescott, we talked about him needing that talented player to make him look better or to help him out. It couldn't be just an average guy. And I'm not saying the wide receivers are average or anything like that. They're better than average at this point, I think, based on what we've seen. But the fact that Dak has been able to play like that with so many different targets rather than him having to lean on one person, which is Amari Cooper, you see him just throwing the ball all to so many different guys. So that's exciting to see from him and at the point that he's at in his career as a quarterback as we look to move forward in the future with him.
That's actually a great point because it's not just even about Amari. Basically, yesterday he did that without his two best offensive weapons. And I shouldn't say without, but they didn't have statistically the best games. I'm talking about Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper. Neither one of them had great games statistically, but they were able to find the guys that were open. He was able to get the ball to them, and they were able to make plays.
He's going to show these defensive coordinators, if you want to keep playing like this, that's fine. I'm going to keep throwing it around. And of course, obviously, this game coming up, they've got the
critical.
They got the best coach in NFL history. Coaching this week, and so we'll see what they scheme up for him. But the thing is that he's showing that if you want to just continue to crowd the box and stop Zeke, I can make plays. In the red zone, though, they haven't. They haven't proven that they can do that. But that's the only down part about that is shortened space. Can they make throws to get that?
That is a really fun element, and look. This wasn't like just the most complete dominant effort. I'm sure we'll get to the defense. I want to be careful not to just heap too much praise for an 8-point win against the team that they should have beaten. But everybody wants to knee jerk like, well, Zeke had another bad game, blah 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 blah. Is Tony Pollard better? And I think it's so silly. And what Nick just said is what really intrigues me and excites me is like, if defenses are going to keep playing them this way and Dak can keep taking advantage of it to the tune of 400 yards, it's going to stop real quick.
It'll stop, yeah.
It will stop, and they'll loosen up, and Zeke Elliott will be just fine. And that's – sorry, you want to make a point, but, that's balance. It's not we ran the ball 25 times and threw the ball 30 times. Like, that's not balance. Balance is we can get it done – either way. Once you decide what you want to take away, we'll kill you with the other thing. And we know they can run the ball. We know they can. But teams have been focusing on taking it away, and Dak is making them pay for it. He couldn't do that earlier in his career, and he clearly can now. And again, I don't care that the Lions are 28th in the league in pass defense. 444 is 444. That's not common even in the modern age of the NFL. Yeah. I can't say enough about how impressive it was.
One thing I will say about that, though, is I do think that you look at how the passing game has gone. They've had other games this year where he's thrown the ball all around the yard and had some big impressive numbers, and they ended up losing. And that's where I wonder if teams get to the point where they say, maybe we ought to rethink this. Maybe they look at the Cowboys and they say, we still would rather have him throwing the ball because when they're running the ball and running it efficiently, they take way more time off the clock. You have way fewer opportunities.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they may have a great offensive day statistically, but if it doesn't end up in a win, then it doesn't really matter. And that's the part where I'm a little bit concerned about what's happening with the running game. I do think at some point they got to figure out how to get that thing on track because they still have to be able to, I think, in order for this defense to play well, I think they got to have time when that defense is not on the field.
Yeah, the thing that is encouraging is if you're not a very good blocker, you're just not a good blocker. And run, pass, whatever. But the fact that they are blocking so well in the passing game, and Dak is going through all of these reads, that makes me think that when they are trying to run, it is loaded box. It's not that they're just missing blocks and they can't push people around. Mm-hmm. Maybe strength is a part of it. You want a stronger line on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, but they're doing a phenomenal job with him just standing back there and going through these reads that it makes me think that their O-line is fine. They're just having a harder time with these stacked boxes. For Randall Cobb to do what he did and Gallup and all those guys, I just think it goes to the Lions saying this is how we're gonna. You have to throw to beat us. And
I would throw this in there, and I wish I could go back and take a look at the game on Game Pass before we did this show. But just spitballing off the top of my head, one thing I loved about this game was they executed the basically short, easy passes that qualified as runs that me personally, I've been dying to see. We saw the Tony Pollard pop pass. We saw a wide receiver screen. I think it was to Amari Cooper. Didn't hit for huge yards, but those are basically runs in my book. So that's another 15 to 30 yards.
Wasn't it Cobb on the little short shovel
They
pass?
did 2 or 3 of those, and they ran a screen to Ezekiel Elliott that went for a touchdown. It's that little stuff that I think we would all agree we've been dying to see more of.
Yeah.
It's not in the box score under rushing yards, but I think of it the same way. And when you consider that, it's a much better day in that category than what the box score suggests. So I think I take that into account when I think about it.
So let's look at the statistical from a statistical standpoint. Think about the fact that they threw the ball 46 times in the game yesterday, and they only ran it 24 times. are we starting to see a shift in how the Cowboys will play offense? Because I do think that even when they, like I said, other points this season, the offense has been, in my opinion, passing has been what they've done best. I don't know that I've seen this kind of discrepancy. Maybe there has been, but this seems really, really slanted to the side of throwing the ball.
Yeah, but he just said it, though. I mean, a couple passes to Pollard, a couple of screens, things like that are high percentage throws that, that pop pass is, I think that play is going to ruin fantasy football, honestly, but hasn't happened yet. I really believe it will. It's going to change. You can't just keep doing catches like that, but I just think that that's what Dave said. It was high percentage plays, and they trust him. And that I thought the most telling thing was in the final drive of the game. They can keep just running in there, force you to call all those timeouts, punt it, 40 seconds to go, whatever. And they said, no, we're going to just let him roll out. The pass will be there.
I love that so much.
And that's the thing. Jason Garrett, he's not a great game manager. If people think that, and they do, and when it happens, it's high alert, oh my God. But when he does manage the game well, it's never mentioned. They managed it well. They went for 2 like they were supposed to. They got the 14-point lead, and they said, you know what, we're gonna kill this game right now and go. And so when it works, you got to give him credit if he's going to get crucified when he doesn't.
Which we don't have to get into this debate right now, but we just talked about it because it happened the last time they went to Detroit in 2013. The old playing to win versus playing not to lose. This is me. I know you feel differently, but playing not to lose would have been running 3 times, punting it, and saying Jeff Driscoll can't get that many yards in that short amount of time. That's playing not to lose. Playing to win is calling a high percentage pass that lets you pick up the first down and end the game on your terms. I thought that was fantastic. Whether it was Kellen Moore, whether it was Jason Garrett, probably both. However they came to that decision, I loved it. And that's how you get road wins is you put yourself, you have the confidence to make those types of calls.
And the only reason I always argue with you because I just think the result is the same. Whether you're trying not to lose or you're playing to win, the result is always the same there. So it's just how aggressive do you want to be and where is your strength? What do you feel like? And I think the part of Dak Prescott rolling out, being smart with the ball, getting it to the tight end is just as high percentage as them going. They weren't going to score if they would have punted. The Lions weren't going to drive and score. They don't have the Calvin Johnson type guy to go make the play like that. They don't. Driscoll's not going to do it. But pass interference penalty here changes everything.
Or Xavier Woods leaves the game for 2 plays and they give up 50 yards back to back, which is something that happened 10 minutes prior.
Yeah.
Going back to your question about them kind of turning more into a passing game, something that I heard, someone asked Dak Prescott in the press conference last night about that. And his answer was basically, well, why are we going to steer away from something that we see that is working? And I'm like, yes, finally. Oh, wow, finally.
Well, they said, where was that last week, right?
Yeah.
That's the irony of the whole thing,
But
right?
at least being able to hear that from it doesn't mean that they're not doing it back there or talking about that, but when you hear it, it just gives you a sense of like, okay, we're not all crazy. You guys are kind of in the same page as us, and you guys still see what we see. So it was just good to hear that and listening to them have that kind of mentality now of like, if we see that this is working, let's keep doing it. And hopefully going into next week and the rest of the season, when they go back and see how having Tony Pollard on the field, how that helped them, then yes, keep doing it.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ezekiel Elliott. He had 16 carries yesterday for 45 yards, only a 2.8 average, and, of course, that fumble there on the first drive. We'll talk about that, and I'll ask you the question, are you concerned about Zeke? We'll do that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their Deal Score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this, Download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Ready? Okay. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. What's that spell?
So.
Are we gonna win?
Not if we play like we cheer.
Just okay is not okay. Whether it's cheerleaders or your wireless network, AT&T is America's best wireless network. Best network based on GWS One score September 2019.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking about the Cowboys' big win yesterday over the Lions. They win 35-27, moved to 6-4. Let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott. Yesterday, he had 16 carries for 45 yards, a 2.8 average. And then he did have one touchdown, but he also had that big fumble there in the early parts of the game that the Lions turned into points. Are you guys at all concerned about Ezekiel Elliott and kind of how he's performing right now?
I'm concerned anytime a running back fumbles. I mean, that is, and you know, I made a joke about it on Twitter yesterday. Is like, I don't want to talk about slow starts for another 7 days, but what choice do you have when they do that? I mean, fumble on the second play of the game and a touchdown drive coming right after. I mean, what choice but you have but to talk about it? Like in terms of, 45 rushing yards and not really. I don't know. I'm not.
Not when your quarterback's going 4.44. I mean, that's the thing. Like give Dak 50 yards less and give it to Zeke. That kind of style of running and balance. Zeke's got 95 and Dak's got 394, and that's balance, and everyone's excited. But I mean, like we said earlier, as soon as you start, they can't do anything. Like if you have a lot of Saints games where Dak can't throw and Zeke can't run, yeah, I think you have some concern. But the defensive coordinators are showing that the respect for Zeke Elliott and the running game is still there. Until they have 7-man boxes and stop them, then I think you start getting concerned. But I'm not there yet, and I don't know if this week's going to change anything with the Jedi out there. I mean, he'll come up with some kind of
best defense in the league. Yeah.
The Jedi.
He is a Jedi.
Oh, he definitely is a Jedi.
We'll have one down rusher and 7 linebackers, and I don't know.
No, he's definitely a Jedi.
And I mean, we took a call about it last week. We've talked about it plenty. Like it is, it sucks that he doesn't have more long runs. I think he's got one run of 20 or more on the season, and you would prefer he's more explosive. I mean, we've seen him do it as a pro, and I mean, he did it at will in college. Obviously, that was a while ago at this point, but it's still what he brings to the table as a workhorse, like as a guy who can fight through that contact, take a minimum of 16, if not 25 or 30 carries a game and still be productive, be the focal point of a defense's efforts and still produce. I mean, 45 rushing yards, 2.8 yards per carry, along of 8. That's bad. But then, 2 catches for 28 yards, including a 17-yard touchdown on a screen pass, which we all know how good he is at that. Again, I mean, all of that goes into account. Right. I'm not ready to be worried about it. Sorry, Nick.
Could it be? I'm trying to remember all these plays, but could it be maybe due to what the offensive line is doing and what kind of holes they're being able or unable to open up for him? I don't know.
I think anytime a running back is not getting a great deal of production, I think that's part of it at least.
It goes into
what I don't know is Zeke seeing everything the way he should? Is he hitting the holes with the right kind of burst? Like those are things that sometimes you can't really notice. You just notice there's not a hole there when he gets there. But the question then becomes, was there a hole there preceding that? And was there an expectation that he should have found that hole quicker and should have been through it by the time it closed up? That's what I don't really know.
Which is what he's been able to do in the past years. It's like he'll make a play out of nothing, and that's kind of what we're missing now.
He actually, there was a couple of plays in that game where I thought, and I think we were talking about one of them where, I mean, he just kind of runs right into the line, and then all of a sudden he kind of squirts out for 4 or 5 yards. I thought he did a decent job of that no big runs. Once the second week in a row that their longest rush is less than 10 yards.
Yeah.
And the second week in a row that the longest rush is not by a running back, because Dak was 9 yards and last week Tavon was 8.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not getting any kind of long runs at all, not even decent 15 to 20-yard runs.
It's tough to say this without doing some tape study, but I wonder, I mean, he's such a patient runner, and maybe he's waiting so long for a hole to develop that will give him a longer run that it prevents him from just getting the typical 3, 4, 5 yard run. Like I said, I'd like to go back and look at that, but there is an element of that to where it looks like he's waiting so long to identify where he needs to be that the play doesn't wind up going anywhere. I mean, Pollard had a great game. I'm ecstatic about it. That is a picture perfect look at how I would like them to use Tony Pollard. He caught 4 balls. 2 or 3 of those catches were really more runs than anything, but his touchdown was going across the formation out of the slot. I mean, he basically ran a drag from the slot. Mm-hmm. He can do that. It's awesome. He got a couple of chances. It's funny because, the opening kick was kind of a disaster, and I mean, like, oh my God, enough of Tony Pollard as a kick returner. And then his play in the fourth quarter on the one that went over his head was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
big play in the game.
We talked to a bunch of people in the locker room. I mean, that he played it the way you're supposed to play it. Like, he lined up on the 5 or the 10, and it went over his head, so you think it's going to be a touchback. It just took an amazing bounce. Like, it was just a hell of a play by Detroit's kicker, and then he still managed to corral it and get further than he would have if it had been a touchback. It was an awesome play. So I think 8 total touches for 98 yards and a touchdown. Again, and I would bet his snap count was less than 25. Like I said, I haven't looked at it.
I guess even less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at just the number of times that he actually had the ball, and I'm not talking about special teams. He had 2 carries for 12 yards, and then he had 4 catches on 4 targets for 44 yards and a touchdown. My question for you guys, are you surprised the Cowboys didn't go back to him? This all happened, most of that offensive production happened at the end of the first quarter heading into the second quarter, and I don't think he touched the ball again the rest of the game. Are you kind of shocked that they didn't go back to that a little later?
He had the 2-point conversion. In the
2-point conversion,
whatever quarter that was.
I guess I was talking about more the offensive.
I was laughing because it's like, okay, you saw him get that touchdown and getting the ball and all that, and people excited. Tony Pollard gets sit. I can't even say sit Zeke down. But then you see Zeke get the ball, and then he gets moving, and then he gets a touchdown, and it's like it made me think of that. When we wonder, okay, what they do at tight end. It's like, okay, you see Blake Jarwin making a play, but now they feel like maybe they need to get the ball to Jason because he's the main guy and blah, blah. So it made me think of that. And like, I wonder if because of his small amount of success that Tony Pollard had, do the Cowboys feel like maybe they need to give Zeke the ball and the opportunity for Zeke to make his own plays?
Yeah.
I
don't know that they think like that during the game, but I see your point. I mean, It seemed a little curious they didn't go back to him after they saw the success that he was having. And to me, that was more about the matchups that he was getting.
Yeah.
And so why not continue to exploit those? But again, we're really splitting hairs because, again, the offense put up 400-some yards. So it's kind of like they were moving the ball. They didn't necessarily need to go back to him, I guess.
Yeah, 4 straight touchdowns.
Right.
I mean, 4 straight scoring possessions.
Right.
After the touchdown, then they punted. When Zeke was back in there, and then it went touchdown, field goal, touchdown.
Right.
So it's not like...
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I can't sit here. They finally give him the workload that I want. I can't sit here and nitpick it. And that's kind of my point is like, Tony Pollard's good. He brings some juice. He should be involved. That doesn't mean Zeke is a bad player and needs to have his snap count drastically reduced. I think that's the most knee-jerk thing in the entire world. But... it's hard not to look at this. I hope the coaching staff looks at this and says, this guy needs to be a sizable part of the game plan. I mean, sizable meaning, again, 8 to 15 touches. Space. Whereas, I can go back and I can show you the snap counts. Like from the Miami game until like yesterday, you're talking 5 snaps or less. Yeah. And that's just not good enough for a guy with that much talent. That doesn't mean you need to reduce Zeke's role.
Was Zeke on the field when they're doing these pot passes?
I know that series that
he wasn't,
Tony
actually.
scored, he was not on the field. Tony had the whole series.
That fake to that is going to be important as well.
Yeah. Right.
And I wondered if Zeke was.
They don't like 21 personnel for whatever reason. They just don't like to do it. I don't get why.
But they did do it some yesterday early in the game, and then they kind of got away from it.
They dally with it. They're like, all right, we can do it once.
But I'll tell you this, in the Cowboys will face this team in early December, Chicago. Go look at how they use Tariq Cohen. And that's how I would love for the Cowboys to use Pollard. I mean, he is lining up in the slot at wide receiver. Every once in a while, he lines up in the backfield. But they just use him. The whole point of how they use him in the offense is get him in matchups with linebackers. If you can force linebackers to be covering him and he's going downfield, he's going to win every time.
Tariq Cohen caught a touchdown like 20 yards downfield last night. Again,
with a linebacker on him. Absolutely right.
I don't get what stops them from doing that. But again, maybe the fact that it worked is kind of like, all right, we can do this now. Like, forgive me, I don't remember the game, but Pollard dropped a screen earlier this season that likely would have scored. Was it the Giants game?
Yeah.
The road game.
Yeah.
Maybe if he catches that, then it's kind of forward momentum on getting him more involved. And now, so maybe him being able to put this on tape gives them the confidence to keep doing it. Because I'm not going to judge it based on the Patriots game because that is a whole different animal. But if this doesn't, if he just disappears for the next month after this game, that would be really frustrating.
I will say this, and we don't want to get too far into this, but I think this is the kind of week against the Patriots when they need a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because you look at the history of the Patriots and how they play defense. They're going to try to take away your top options. What you did last week, you're going to probably have to do that again because they're probably going to figure out a way to take Amari out of the game and they're going to figure out a way to take Zeke out of the game.
Yeah, that's a good
How
point.
can you be able to move the ball and still score points when those two guys are taken out of the game? And so that's going to be really, really important. Let's take our final break. We'll come back. We're going to talk about this defense. They had some issues yesterday, but we'll break all that down for you when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Ready? Okay. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. Give me an S. S. Give me an O. O. What's that spell?
So.
Are we gonna
win? Not if we play like we cheer.
Just okay is not okay. Whether it's cheerleaders or your wireless network, AT&T is America's best wireless network. Best network based on GWS One score September 2019.
It's time for tailgating with the OtterBox boys.
The OtterBox that builds those crazy protective phone cases?
Yup, and now they're changing the side dish game with the OtterBox Trooper Soft Cooler. Lightweight, mobile, and leak-proof, Trooper is perfect for blitzing a crowded parking lot with a Frito pie.
Amazing. Hey, you think I could fit my 7-layer salmon salad into the Trooper cooler?
Yup, but please don't.
And that's been tailgating with the OtterBox boys. Learn more about the Trooper Soft Coolers at OtterBox.com.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their deal score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this,
Hey! Blue 20!
download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
Hey Cowboys Nation, this season when the Cowboys win, you get to experience the sweet taste of victory because if the Cowboys win, the next day Dunkin' is offering a free medium hot or iced coffee. So don't just celebrate the Cowboys' success from the sidelines, head to Dunkin' and treat yourself to real victory because this season Cowboys fans aren't only winning on game day, they're winning the next day too with a free medium coffee. Cowboys Nation runs on Dunkin'. Excludes cold brew. Limit 1 per guest. Participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Back to the break.
If you're not going to fly up to Boston and watch the Cowboys play the Patriots this weekend, you should at least go to the Star for the Cowboys official watch party presented by AT&T. It's on Sunday, November 24th at the Tostitos Championship Plaza at the Star. Cowboys will take on the Patriots. Admission is free. Parking is free. The Star and Frisco.com for more details. Should be fun out there if the weather cooperates.
Song says, please come to Boston in the springtime. I don't know about the wintertime. I'm sorry. I'm just making all kinds of awful references today.
I have no idea what that song is.
It's fine.
All right, good. All right, let's talk about the defense. Yesterday, Cowboys defense, it was a weird game for me because I looked at, if you watch the game, or I'll put it for myself, as I watched the game and when the game concluded, I thought, man, this defense had a bad day. However, when you go back and you look statistically, I don't know if it was a really bad day or if it was a situation where they got put in some really bad situations. There were a couple times when, because of special teams, because of offense turnovers, they had the other team got the ball in favorable situations and the defense wasn't able to make the stop. But you look at the yardage they gave up, only give up 209 yards passing, give up 121 yards rushing, but that really was about the fact that they couldn't stop Driscoll from running. He was, I think, Scarborough had 55. He had 55 yards, a 3.9 average. That's not huge. That doesn't kill you. And so my point is, I don't know if the defense was really as bad as I thought it was watching the game. I'm interested to see what you guys had, what your perspective was.
They weren't bad, and I caught myself, and I wanted to think that way. I'm like, oh, they weren't that bad. But then when you look at who was like running back, who was playing quarterback? I mean,
all relative, right?
That takes in effect as to how they play. They should have played a lot better. I mean, the quarterback, he's a guy. Yes, he had some really nice throws down the field, and he impressed me that way. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know you had that in you like that. But at the same time, he's a guy with not much experience. You could see his hesitation. He doesn't have good anticipation. He would always kind of self-doubt himself, trying to figure out what to do. The defensive line was giving him way too much time instead of getting to him and pressuring him. You know, when you talk about the Hot Boys, I expected them to get that field on fire and stop Driscoll from moving around and being able to escape the pocket.
The Hot Boys didn't get a sack yesterday.
No.
Now, Bennett had 2 and Quinn had 1.
Bennett's
I don't know.
not in the hot.
Are they?
Quinn is, I know for sure. I don't.
Bennett is. Bennett said,
I remember
he's no. Michael Bennett said last week, I remember the real Hot Boys. Those guys don't know what they're talking about. Cash money forever.
Yeah, Bennett.
That's what Michael Bennett says.
Damn.
There's 52 guys, and then there's Bennett.
That's your sentiment.
I mean,
he's not a part of what this whole thing's about. I mean, you know, we see it in the national anthem. We see stuff. He's doing his own thing. He's his own guy. He's here for a different reason, maybe. I don't know. But when the lights are on, he goes and he gets it done. Now, he had 2 offsides penalties yesterday.
Gotta clean that up.
One was big. One was very that was a really could have been a big play. But they do buckle down, and he had a really nice play that changed the game when he made that sack and forced him to punt, which was head scratching really, because 4th and 26, I would have gone for it honestly, because what they were asking to do to get the ball back was going to be so they could get into Hail Mary mode. So what's the difference?
I understand that the odds of picking up a 4th and 26 are not good.
No,
but you're not getting that ball back. You're probably not.
And if you do, you're going to get a Hail Mary.
It'll be you'll have one play. I mean, and damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I think you give yourself a better chance going for it. Anyway. I think that's a good example of stats lying, because the stats will tell you that they weren't terrible, but I don't think they played a good game. I thought Robert Quinn actually, he had a good line where he was like, we had a bad day explosively in terms of limiting explosive plays. Yeah, 312 yards, that's pretty good. You got 3 sacks, 1 of them came, and a couple other pressures when it really mattered, but explosive plays, I mean, they had a 5-play, 75-yard. Mm-hmm. There were so many times where I was like, okay, they're down for the count. This game is now over, and then they just climbed right back in it. They did it in the first half, where they score on the short field. I'm not going to kill the defense for that. They got put in a bad position, but then after 3 punts, bad return sets them up. They go 40 yards and score a touchdown to claw back in it before the half, and then coming out of halftime, 10 plays, 70 yards. I mean, they just methodically moved it downfield.
That included a 39-yard pass to Hall. Got them down to the Dallas 9, and then gave them an opportunity to score.
And then, I mean, the really damning one for me, and I know Xavier Woods was hurt, and Donovan Wilson had to go out there. I get that, but it's 35-21. They score. They get the 2-point conversion, and you're kind of like, all right, we're icing this thing away. And then it's not just that they went and scored. They went in five plays, 75 yards, took 2 minutes off the clock. Just bad performance. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. Like Driscoll's got better athleticism than what you would associate with a tall white quarterback. He did, and he burned him. And
somebody said last night in the post game, I can't remember, one player said he ran a 4.4 or 4.5.
He had somebody mentioned that to me after I gave my scouting report. They were like, he ran a 4.5 at the combine.
Yeah,
I honestly,
that's amazing.
I didn't know he was that fast, but I knew he was more athletic than you would associate with him.
Running. There's some running backs that don't run a 4.5 at the combine. Like that's a really, really great time for a quarterback.
But the point being, like, he did so many things that sort of defied a basic scouting report. Like, there were so many times that the pressure just kind of came off the edge and ran right past him and gave him an easy lane. And honestly, I said this during the game. I don't know if Jeff Driscoll was trying to prove something or what, but he left about 75 yards on the field by trying to make throws when he had room to run. Like, 5 or 6 different plays. He had the first down. He needs 4 yards or he needs 8 yards, and he tried to force a throw instead of just picking it up. Like, he could have run for...
And one of them could have got picked.
He could have run for 100 and extended several more drives if he had just run. And thankfully, he didn't for the Cowboys' sake, but it was there.
So from the standpoint of the explosive plays, do you think the Cowboys missed Jeff Heath yesterday?
No offense to Jeff Heath, but I don't... I mean,
not there. They
so
missed
many
him on
of
the
them...
punt team.
Rod Marinelli loves to keep him in the well. Like, that's his line, and they did not keep Jeff Driscoll in the well at all. They did not. I mean, he broke contain and hurt them.
I'm not so much talking about the quarterback explosive plays. I'm talking about more some of those plays downfield, some of those passes that they were able to convert. The 39-yarder.
Yeah.
There was a 21-yarder to Amendola, 25-yarder to Jones. I'm wondering,
Honestly,
in those plays, are you missing having your safety out there?
There's nothing. I'm trying to think if there was any play that would make me think, oh, if Jeff Heath was in there, that would not have happened. You know,
Yeah.
like he's not that big of a difference maker.
For starters, I don't think of pass coverage as being like his amazing strength that he's going to take those away. But then I'll contradict myself. Like, Jeff Driscoll threw for 200 yards. That's in the modern NFL. I will take that. Like, you're going to give up some plays in football. Like, that's just is what it is. And so Kenny Golladay caught one pass. Marvin Jones had 4 for 43, 2 touchdowns, but still, like, I'll take that stuff. It's the explosive runs and not being able to get to Driscoll. Up until the fourth quarter, it seemed like the pass rush either couldn't get to him or over pursued him. That's the stuff that bothers me more than him throwing for a few chunk plays.
I mean, I get the sense, and I've heard a little bit during the game, after the game, social media, that, it's like, okay, they won, but they should have killed the Lions. I just don't agree. Vegas doesn't agree. I mean, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They won by 8 on the line was 7 or 7.5. That's what it was, and they did. I mean, like, the thought of that this is a team that should be competing for the Super Bowl, they're not. Like, this is not what the Cowboys are. They're not that great of a football team. That's why they're 6-4. Can they still get there? Yeah, they can if they get on a roll and get hot. But this is, they did what they were supposed to do in this game. And if Stafford would have played, maybe it would have been different. Maybe not. He's not going for 50 yards. I promise that one rushing, but he probably can throw for more. And Galladay probably has more than one catch. I just think that based off this is exactly what the Cowboys did, what they're supposed to do. If you don't like it, that's just on the way the team is. But this is what they were supposed to do.
It's more on your expectations than it is. At this point, your expectations shouldn't be that they're going to go blow anybody out.
By Thanksgiving, you should have readjusted your expectations. But I still think the way it happened, though, is what gives me pause. Like, my prediction was 27-13, and we said last week, like, this is not a bad Lions team. They're not good, but they're not. This is not the Jets. This is not the Dolphins.
Injured team is what they are.
Yeah. And but 27 points to a backup quarterback and a running back that they signed on Saturday, that gives me pause. And the defense, we thought it would be so much better. The stats say they really didn't play a terrible game, but my eyes told me that they didn't play a good game.
Well, you can't gift anybody. That's the only way you're gonna get a team like that in the game is if you just fumble on the second play of the game, or if you give up a punt to midfield. And that doesn't mean the defense has to let them score. I mean, you can stop them, lead to a field goal, but it's short field doesn't mean you have to score a touchdown. So they could have done a better job of buckling down there, but just driving down the field, they did it when they needed to, and that's the prevent style, but usually it takes more time off the clock than that. But I just think overall, I don't think it was a a bad win. I had a guy turn around right on the field and said, we should be killing these guys. And I'm just like, not really.
According to who, yeah.
I mean, I just don't think so. I don't think this team is as talented as everyone thinks they are, that they should be winning. They could have in this game maybe won by 14, but they didn't.
I said right after the game, it reminded me of the road win against the Giants. You did what you're supposed to do. It's not an exciting win. It's not something that you should never feel bad about a win in the NFL.
On the road.
But I don't,
It was a road.
I don't feel especially different about this team than I did on Saturday. I guess,
No.
I'm encouraged that Dak can keep doing stuff like this. This is my hypothetical for y'all. If you could rearrange it, they still win. We'll even say the margin is the same, but like Dak throws for 270, Zeke runs for 100, and they score, 24, but the defense holds the Giants down to like 175 yards.
Lions.
And what did I said the Giants?
Yeah.
Lions. Defense holds them to 180 and 10 points. I mean, just basically the same result, but it's more of a dominant defensive performance.
24-16, just kind of lower.
Yeah, well, okay. They beat them 24-16. The offense is fine, but not great. And the defense really just kind of sets the tone. Would you feel differently? Would you feel better?
Maybe. It also depends on how the game played out, because I think the feelings that people have right now about the defense wasn't necessarily about the end result as much as it was what you saw. Like, they weren't able, like the thing, when you saw, there was one drive in particular, and I don't remember which one it was in the second half, where they were basically just gashing the Cowboys. And that's where, to me, that's starting to look familiar now, because there have been several games this year where at certain parts of the game, offenses, it happened against Minnesota, where offenses just say, we're about to run the ball, and the Cowboys are just like getting gashed, just moving the ball down the field. It's those kind of moments that make you say, regardless of what the outcome was at the end of the day, they didn't give up a ton of rushing yards, but when you watched it, you came away from it thinking, man, this. I even said to you at one point, Nick, I was like, I don't know why they're not going to run the ball ever.
Yeah.
Because they're getting as much as they want on the ground. And so that's where I still don't know if I would feel differently if it was played the same way and the defense was giving up the stuff they were giving up in the way they gave it up.
Well, maybe we can just Driscoll, he's not that great of a quarterback. If we could just face like the best quarterback of all time, then we can kind of figure out where they stand.
Well,
can we do that?
The question is he going to play like the greatest of all time now? Because he may not. He hasn't been playing like that. Let's just put it like
Brady
that.
came out this morning and was like, the strength of our team is defense. We're going to lean into that as much as we can.
You got it. I mean, the only way he's ever been stopped is if you just get after his ass, and you have to. And maybe the Cowboys have a guy on their team that is kind of pissed off at the Patriots.
That's nice, but the crazy part about that right now is they're winning with the offense not doing a ton. It's the defense that's playing out of its mind, and that matches up against the Cowboys strength. This is going to be an interesting game.
When you look at the Cowboys do have the number one offense, they still do. I mean, 509. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have the number one offense.
Patriots number one defense, right?
Let's go.
We got like 4 more days of shows to fill, guys.
I know.
This is going to be fun. All right.
To answer my own question, I know defenses win championships. I know the Pats won the Super Bowl 13-3. If my quarterback can do that week in and week out, give me that every time. And the Eagles won the Super Bowl 41-33. Their defense made like one stop when it counted. Like, I'll take my chances, that the defense can put it together just enough. But if my offense is scoring and doing stuff like that week in and week out, I'll take that every time.
The question will be, can he do that against a great defense, though? And we saw in New Orleans what happened. Like, you go up against a great defense. There are many that believe that's why they say defense wins championships is they believe that a great defense will stop a great offense. And so we'll see. I think there's a lot of questions around that, but we're going to find out a lot about that this weekend.
Ooh, what a tease.
We appreciate you guys joining us. We are back tomorrow, our normal time. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman. Yeah, Dave Hellman. Amber
Where's
Garcia.
Waldo?
I am Derek. This has been The Break Live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!